Welcome everyone, this is Ricardo, and I want to speak on Alpha and Omega. Now, these are like Greek if you think about it. There's a lot of people who have sororities and might think like Kappa Phi or Kappa Psi, whatever you may want to call it. I'm not all into all the, different type of sororities and this and that. The actual meaning for Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end. Our Father in heaven has always been and always will be. He is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. From the Old Testament to the New Testament, right now what's happening in this world, He is present. He's been present and always will be present. And when we have the Alpha and Omega, we have our history to lead us to where we are now. We have our origins of where we came from, which is from our Father. But He is beyond the origins of time. He is beyond time. He's beyond ages. He is beyond anything that we can even think of. So we cannot go back to pinpoint the exact origin of our Father, but He has placed us in the timing, and in our timing that we've been created, that's where He was already at, already thinking of us, already forming us, bringing us into fruition at the future timing, which we are in the present time right now. And God has us from the beginning, created from Adam and Eve, to have the world that we have right now, to multiply, be ye fruitful and multiply, Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end. When we see ourselves to go from where we started to come right to where we are now. Every time you have a dream, where do you start? Right in the middle of the dream. Right now, we are in the middle of what was already became, what has already become. So when we look at where we are right now, God has already formed and fashioned us before we can even be born in our mother's womb. He already knew about us, and He has already formed all the things that we will face, and He has already made escape routes for all of us. He has already made a pathway for His children, and we have that right to the kingdom, being His children, also being like royal, as far as royal priesthood, and having the bloodline of our Father. Basically, just having that bloodline that we're not slaves, we're not in bondage, but we are friends. And not only are we friends, but we are children of God. And He wants to do more exceedingly than what we could ever imagine. So He has always been in our life. He has always been before we were even born, and He always will be. No matter where we make our bed, whether we make it in heaven or whether we make it in hell. But let's definitely pray to make it in heaven. All of us. He will always be, no matter where we are. If our situation is hellfire, He will be in the midst of all the troubles. If our situation is bliss and all the great things, greatness that God has placed within our lives, He is in the midst of it because He has created it. So let's just keep in mind that God will always be. He's always been and always will be. And He will place us into that eternal kingdom and the time for us to be with Him and spend that eternity with Him. So I want to end with that. Again, my name is Ricardo. Know that God loves you and I love you. You all take care, and God bless.